All right, welcome into the Knoll Road on a bye week. We got some good injury news, Steelers fans. We're going to jump into that. We have all the Pittsburgh Steelers angles we can wrangle right here for you on the bye. And yes, injury news, the latest on the wide receiver trade market. We'll look at some quarter poll awards as well. Who's the best Steeler so far through 4 games? Put a comment down below. But that's just scratching the surface here, Steelers fans. We're locked and loaded on the Knoll Road. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Here we go.
Then to the corner of the end zone. Oh, for a touchdown!
Yes, sir. I'm Gavin Dawson, a 25-year sports radio veteran. With me, as always, my favorite football Neanderthal, New Bear Lesniewski. How the heck are you, buddy?
You know, I'm in recovery. Western Pennsylvania in the fall has the best pumpkin patches, apple orchards, like all the things in the damn world. And the first half of the day and the weekend in October is for the kid, whatever they want. Funnel cake, all the damn thing. And let me tell you, I ate some fried Oreos today, and I almost ate my body weight in deep fried Oreos this morning. And I'm in recovery, but I'm going to make it.
I plan to do that at the Texas State Fair here before too long. I'm down in Houston for another soccer tournament. It's about 90 degrees and humid. I do miss fall in the north. There's no doubt about it. It's one of the best trade-offs you can get. Okay, running back news last night as the story came out that Jaylen Warren might not have to miss any more time. I think the way that Kenny Gainwell played in week 4, maybe Jaylen Warren's not top of mind for a lot of Steelers fans, but that is really good news to have, 2 quality backs. I just love that 1-2 punch that Warren and Gainwell are going to be able to provide. And who knows, maybe Caleb Johnson will get it going here before too long. But on top of that, DeFabo had the report late Thursday night when we were doing our most recent podcast that Calvin Austin's x-rays were negative, and it's not clear if he's going to miss any time with his shoulder. New Bear, react to it.
Yeah, I'm still not going to stop talking about the trade deadline. I'm just not. Like, I love Calvin Austin. He's going to give you everything he's got, and I just don't believe that what he's got is good enough to be wide receiver 2 on a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think you breathe a sigh of relief knowing that Austin could be back, though, because Aaron Rodgers has shown when all the chips are down, he's kind of a go-to guy on that back shoulder that he attempted week 1 and then masterfully pulled off in week 3 to help beat the Patriots. And if you do make the trade for a more high-profile or more productive wide receiver too, Calvin Austin as your 3rd best wide receiver could be outstanding. I think we're all believing that Cleveland should be a win with the offensive dumpster fire they're probably going to have behind Dylan Gabriel, but that's going to be a tough defense to attack you when all your weapons on deck. And then it's a quick turnaround for Thursday night against Cincinnati. And, I suppose injury devastation is the only way I could see the Steelers losing that game.
I just go back to the game in the Snow Angels, George Pickens fighting dudes while the ball is in the air. The game in Cleveland, that was just that for me. That was the low point of last year. It wasn't going out wild card. It wasn't any of the other stuff. It was that game, and they're making Snow Angels, and Jameis Winston's eating crab legs. I just can't. Like, that cannot happen next week against a rookie who shouldn't even be playing in the NFL for all intents and purposes. The only reason it's happening is because they know they're not going to go anywhere with Flacco. They played the game, they did the dance, and now they got to find out what they got with the 19 other quarterbacks that they drafted. So this bye week about getting healthy, and look, I'm not throwing shade at Calvin Austin. I'm just trying to remind ourselves the AFC is for the taking. And if the AFC is for the taking and we're going to talk about wide receiver 2, we should be talking about the 2 seed 2.
You are maybe a little bit disappointed that your man crush Roman Wilson maybe won't get his opportunity quite yet with Calvin.
Man, if they're not going to play him, I'm not going to sit here and force hashtag Roman Wilson. I would, just because I have 19 jerseys in my eBay cart, but no, I don't understand the madness. Like, what is the method to this madness where you draft a guy in the 3rd round and don't play him? Because how bad is he in practice? How bad is he in the locker room? How bad is he at ping pong or something else that is a part of however they're measuring their wide receiver depth chart, where they're making up lies, stories, narratives about how they're struggling to get the ball to the targets that they have, so they don't need anyone else in that room. Like, I just can't.
Okay, let's well, maybe you can move on to a discussion here about the trade deadline coming up November 3rd. Nick Underhill reporting there are teams interested in some of the Saints veteran players, and they'll be watching to see who becomes available in the coming weeks. League sources tell me, and there's a feeling around the league that New Orleans will be open to hearing offers in the coming weeks. So maybe not here at the bye, but those would be the guys that I'd want to have on the phone. Not only Olave, but Shaheed is a pretty dangerous deep threat as well, as the Cowboys found out last season.
Yeah, I mean, Cooks might be cooked, and he's been a very, very, very good player for a long time. Kamara. He's always an interesting one, because just when you think he looks like he's maybe getting old fast, he goes out and has one of those, 35 burgers in fantasy football, and is just a check down merchant. Olave is the one for us here, as far as I'm concerned, because our guy Ray Rocks, and I want to say Ray McKee's Rocks, who keeps commenting on pretty much every show. Appreciate you, Ray. And going back and forth, I said some of this stuff about, what do they have? They have 1, 2, 3 threes, 2 4s, 2 5s, 2 6s, and a 7, or maybe 3 5s, depending on how the compensatory is. There's 3 third-round draft picks in there, and we're worried about 12 picks in the 2026 NFL draft. They're not going to have 12 rookies play on the team next year. So we're talking about what? Trading up next year to get who? Presumably quarterback 1 or whatever. Like, maybe you go get a running buddy for Harmon, or Cam Hayward's true replacement, some nasty nose or whatever. And that doesn't have to happen in the first round. That can be using a 3 to move up in 2, to use a 4 to move up in 3. And I get what we're talking about for next year, but can we just talk about moving one of these damn picks for one guy, so that we can just bolster this offense and have no questions that when we're sitting against Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes at all, we're not just playing catch up from the jump, or if we do have to play catch up, we have the tools to do so.
Yeah, and I don't think your 3rd, 4th, 5th rounders are going to necessarily be a deal breaker if you want to move up to get a quarterback. You're talking about your first round picks. And I don't think with Olave, because of his injury history and his availability is concerned, it's a very difficult contract to put a valuation on. I don't think he's going to take premium assets. If you want to move up for a quarterback, I think that is a horrible idea. Okay. Let me repeat that. Trading up for a quarterback in the NFL is a effing stupid idea. Go ask the Carolina Panthers and any of the other teams in a long litany. Go ask the 49ers. What would have happened if you hadn't traded up for Trey Lance? If you had just stood there and maybe took Mac Jones, who was absolutely balling on Thursday night, right? So you find Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, at the end of the draft. Like, moving up, as important as first round picks are, to take basically, I don't want to call it a lottery ticket. At best, it's a coin flip that you're even going to want the dude to be your starting quarterback in 4 years. Let's put it like that. And you're hoping that it's a Mahomes, it's a Josh Allen, it's a Burrow, right? So like there's a 10% chance in the NFL that your quarterback is one of those dudes that you feel like gives you an advantage, even if your offensive line is down and your weapons are kind of dinged. This guy can help us win. So it is such a small percentage chance that you actually end up with the guy that can take you to the promised land. And then you're giving up future draft capital to do it. So I think it's overstated that you couldn't move later round picks for a wide receiver. And I think it's stupid to trade up anyway.
Well, and to your point, I mean, one of the better quarterback move up trades was actually Patrick Mahomes, where the Chiefs gave up. And I hate when people talk about they gave up 3 ones. No, they didn't. They swapped ones. When I talk about giving up ones, I'm talking about ones in the future, right? Because who has 2 first round picks? Like, just stop. So the Bills gave up their 1 that year. So they gave up that 1 to switch. And then to move up to go get Mahomes, they also gave up that year's 3 and the next year's 1. So it was 2 1s and a 3, right? that 27, the future 1, and 91 to go up to 10. And that's still like, that was a question mark because there were a lot of question marks about Mahomes coming out of the air raid and having a losing record.
They were sold. I mean, the story goes they knew it a year out. They wanted Mahomes, and they were building relationships they were building relationships with the Bills in order to get that done because they were sold. They weren't just like, wow, we need a quarterback. Let's go up to the top and take our guy. It was a special situation where the guy in charge of the evaluation was standing on the table screaming at the Chiefs, we must go get this guy.
They also knew they were going to redshirt him because they had Alex Smith. They also knew that this unpolished gem would have the time to sit, unlike any of these other guys that you're talking about. They just get thrown into the fire when they're not ready. They don't have the line to protect them, the receivers to protect them from themselves. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because the draft picks that we're talking about giving up in 2026, I'm talking about maybe the 2, but we're really talking about the multiplicity of 3s, 4s, 5s. And quite frankly, if no one bites on Olave, who's to say you can't get him for as little as a 6 with 5 concussions, maybe 6, including the ones that were undocumented. So when you go through this process, and because we're talking about 15.49 to, I want to say 17, right? Depending on how many games he plays and what, there's small escalators that could make it a little bit more than 15.5. So we're going to lock in 15.5 and give up a pick for a guy who could be one play away. Blink of an eye, he's career over. And sorry, I lost my train of thought. The reason that we're talking about this is because the 26 picks aren't what you're going to have to give up to go get whatever quarterback you're in love with. You're going to have to give up 27-1. You're going to have to go into the future and borrow 1s to go up to number 1, unless you're talking about doing what the Chiefs did and hanging around and watching those first 2, 3, 4 guys come off the board because your evaluation is just better and different than, I mean, that's Deshaun Watson, Mitchell Trubisky, Patrick Mahomes. Think about that.
Yeah. I mean, you're making all great points there, Newbear. It's the Knoll Road here on YouTube. Please do consider subscribing if you're enjoying our show. And if you're on a smart TV, you might have to hit that menu button and go navigate through it. But once you're subbed, you'll be locked in with us. Okay, next topic of conversation here on the show. I think the biggest question for the defense is, when is Jalen Ramsey going to be back? It's great that you're getting JPJ back as Ramsey's got to take his turn on the shelf. But the next big question is, how do you handle the Herbig, Highsmith, TJ Watt rotation now that Highsmith is getting healthy and Herbig is looking like one of the most efficient pass rushers in the entire league? And he would be the best pass rusher on a lot of teams. So I guess, I'll just get it started, Newbear. I'll throw it out there. I think maybe you take some time off of TJ Watt's plate as he's getting up there. He has looked fatigued in fourth quarters at times throughout his career. I'm not worried about him hitting the counting stats or chasing 17 sacks or whatever he wants to do. I'm worried about him being right. And then, I guess I'm trying to find a way, and I'll lean on Terrell Lawson, Mike, and Coach T for this because I'm not a DC, but I want to figure out a way to get all these guys on the field at some point in the fourth quarter when we're trying to close out somebody up, 2 scores with 8 minutes to go or something.
Dude, I'm sorry. I can't answer your question straight away because I have to throw this into the fray. Your point about first round quarterbacks is I don't want to throw shade because he's a Notre Dame guy, and you know how much my family loves Notre Dame. But the fourth quarterback in that draft, everyone talks about Mahomes and Trubisky and Mahomes, Trubisky, and Watson, right? The fourth quarterback was DeShone Kizer, and he was going to be the number 1 pick before he went back to Notre Dame, didn't play as well. 6'4", 240, run, throw. Bro didn't win a game.
He was atrocious. It was atrocious.
He didn't win a game as the starter.
Shows you can't tell who the good quarterback is. College is such a different sport. You can't tell.
Not to turn this into please restate your question about the secondary. Let's move on to Ramsey and company.
I love it, man. We'll circle back on that. These teams are freaking ridiculously idiotic, thinking they have all the answers. There's decades of proof. You don't know who the effing good quarterback coming out of college is. I'll give the guys in Kansas City credit because they've done stuff so well, and they made a lot of good decisions. How do you handle your edge rusher dilemma here? You got three guys who could be the best edge on any team or a lot of teams across the NFL. How do you manage their playing time?
You know what I'm interested in? All these teams, and think about the New York Giants with all their weapons, or think about what Cleveland's going to do next week, trying to play games with Myles Garrett. All these teams that really move their guys. Do you do something where you put all three of them on the field and you play big nickel, and we're not just talking about safeties and we're not just talking about DBs and what they're doing and around Patrick Queen or Peyton Wilson, but like, what are these guys up front doing where, whether it's Cam or Derek Harmon or whoever that sub package is, all three of them are in there running games?
Yeah. That's what I think you look at is what would that defense look like? Or what would that sub package look like? It would have to be in games where you're very sure they're not going to run the football, or if they do, they're playing into your hands. Maybe 8 minutes to go is too much for getting all three of these guys on the field. Maybe it's a 3rd and 15 in the first half, though, because it's just as an offensive coordinator, I would be like, crap, all three guys are out here. What are we going to do? Yeah. If you have Justin Fields, I'm like, can he run away from them and run for a first down? Because we're not going to have enough time to set up a passing play. Somebody is getting absolutely cooked on this rep, and our quarterback's probably getting hit within 2.3.
Yeah, it's funny because everyone talks about how small Nick Herbig is, right? And
but he's stronger now.
Right. And he's like 6'2", 240 is generally what he's listed at. Whereas, but it's funny because like Highsmith, everyone just thinks he's such a thicker dude. And TJ's usually like 6'4", 252. I don't think I've ever really seen him listed or probably play much bigger than that. But like Highsmith is generally listed around 6'4", 240 and change, which is fascinating when you think about it because it's 2 inches taller, but basically the same weight as Herbig. Herbig's just one of those dudes he looks so long. He's built in such a specific way that his motor combined with all of his traits make it really hard to take him off the field. Now, at the same time, when you talk about attrition, you talk about total snap count, what we have to, as Steelers Nation, do is take a step back and realize that 18-game season, plus we're hoping a home playoff game and 3-4 more. Like, none of these guys have ever played 22 games or 22 weeks. None of these guys have proven that they can hold up over time. So whatever the percentage is, or whoever is getting, this look in the first quarter, it's not about who starts. It's about who finishes. And then it's about how are all these guys healthy when they're trying to finish the ultimate deal.
How would you try to get all three on? Are you putting one at more of a Sam linebacker spot, or can TJ Watt play inside in a NASCAR package? I would go back to, quite frankly, starting Highsmith and play him.
Just
rotate him.
Play him on early downs and then rotate him, because here's the thing. Herbig's not his effort, his motor, his attitude, like nothing's going to change. But what changed? Highsmith got hurt. He was the starter. Herbig's playing great. This isn't a Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe thing where like all of a sudden everything changes. Like you're asking them to do the same things. And if anything, this is just going to, in my opinion, this just stirs the pot, for Herbig to come in and be like, oh, you really don't think I'm better? And just keep putting up the metrics and then, put the Steelers in a position where they got to write a really big check, or they got to look at, paying all three of these guys at the same time is going to be nearly impossible. And him playing and continuing to have a little bit of an edge and a chip on his shoulder only serves them well, because if they decide they can't pay him and his numbers are through the roof, somebody else is going to, and you're only going to get more for that.
Up next here on the Knoll Road, let's go to our guy, Josh Carney. Says he put up some film there for Steelers Depot on Patrick Queen. There's a longer clip of this. This is just 10 seconds or so. Said this offseason he needs to be the linebacker the team paid him to be, and coming out of week 4, he's doing just that. Here he is in the middle. And I'll just what do you see and what do you like from Patrick Queen that maybe you don't always get? Wow, what a beast sideline to sideline, man.
Well, you always get that. You always get the speed. You always get the hustle, the effort. As long as Derrick Henry's not running them over, you get the hustle and the effort too. But like all kidding aside, he is a heat-seeking missile, and when he hesitates is when he gets in trouble. Like it's one of those Brett Favre, Steve Mariucci type things where if you're going to be wrong, throwing the ball as hard as you can, 100 miles an hour through that tight fit window. Like when he thinks it all, he's wrong because he's small, and his speed becomes a liability because now he's a step behind and he's small. Whereas if you're small but you're first, you can still win. So what you're seeing now is him not guessing, not thinking, not hesitating. And when he just goes, he's as good as anybody. When you play in flow, in game flow, and even if other teams are trying to dictate stuff to him, he's going to figure it out because he's seasoned now. He's seen almost everything. And when he trusts his instinct and just goes, he's just going to beat you to the punch.
Yeah, and I love that about him. Patrick Queen makes some of the best plays, and Peyton Wilson makes some great plays as well. I think the Steelers are still looking for that freaking Urlacher. Everybody is. Newsflash, everybody's looking for an Urlacher. Yeah, everybody wants Ray Lewis too. I'll take a Sean Lee. Take two of them. But seriously, like if you're not the complete linebacker, right? You're doing sideline to sideline, or hey, I'm a great gap fill guy. I'm a thumper. I don't know how good I think you are, right? Can you run the pull? Can you cover a guy in man? Are you a trustable guy in zone defense? And if that's not on your resume as a linebacker, then I don't know how much I can get excited about the things that you do incredibly well. Because if you're not complete, you're not versatile, the good offenses can game plan around.
Well, this is where Buffalo gets really interesting with that three-headed monster that they've got at tight end now. Not just the two picks, but I mean, they got guys who until a few weeks ago hadn't done shit, and now they're popping up and scoring touchdowns. I mean, literally everybody eats in Buffalo. Josh Allen throws it to who's ever open. And when you start talking about where this thing is going, the collision course is with the mutated Ben Roethlisberger. It's with Josh Allen if you want to get through the AFC. And when you talk about what you're talking about right now, that's the one thing that gives you pause relative to the noise Peyton Wilson was making preseason. I think I'm one of the best cover linebackers in the league, to the misstep we saw in the preseason where I was like, nothing to see here. Keep it moving, Dawson. He's just got to get his head around or get his hand up. The receiver had late hands. And then some of that stuff showed up early. And the thing with Peyton Wilson that you see, which is what bugs me, is he is guessing, cheating, trying to take those inside. And when he gets there, it's a TFL, it's a game. And when he doesn't, it's a big play the other way. That's the thing about Queen too, that's really nice right now is when I say he's not guessing and he's playing off his instincts, he's not just playing off his instinct and going under a block. And because he's fast enough to get there, he gets there. That play that you just showed is like as perfect as it gets because the angle is right. The pre-snap adjustment is right. And when you unpack every part of it, he's right every step of the way.
All right, up next here on the Knoll Road is Jason McIntyre on FS1, right, saying Luck has been the real MVP for the Steelers. Got lucky the Jets fumbled. They got lucky against the Patriots. They got lucky to face Carson Wentz. I think clearly the Patriots game was luck. To have that many turnovers, you really could not stop them. And to have 5 in a game is just unsustainable. But I think, facing Carson Wentz or facing J.J. McCarthy at this point in his career, there's about 12 teams in the NFL where you can say, well, you got lucky you got to face that quarterback. He's not very good. Yeah, it's the NFL. There's, and turnovers play a massive role. And Kenny Gainwell made a hell of a play. Like, the punch out is more of a skill in today's NFL than ever. I think it's because they're not tackling all training camp usually and a lot of practices. So that's really the only way that the defense can get stops in practice unless you're doing the full hits. So I just think that that's playing out because that's sort of unintentionally emphasized. But yeah, luck's been a factor. This team could be 2-2 easily, but I'm not taking anything away from them other than that New England game, which was a blessing from the takeaway gods.
I just blacked out and I'm not even drinking yet. Did you say the number of missed tackles at 25, 28, somewhere in there when they were really getting raked over the coals about it? I'm Luck. The Steelers MVP is Luck. Like, fuck off, dude. Seriously.
Yeah.
Dude, everyone has a soft part of their schedule and a tough part of their schedule. Everyone plays the same schedule every 4 years because they rotate the out of conference games. And oh, by the way, the more games you win, the more better teams you play. So all the non-losing season stuff that we bitch, moan, and complain about, it actually, at least before the season starts, based on what the previous season held, that's why what the Patriots did was so special. Cheating or no cheating, everybody cheats. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. Spygate forever. But all kidding aside, that'll get some folks fired up in the comments, huh? Bella cheat and all that. We've seen some of that trickle through, even if we mentioned Tom Brady.
Hammer the like button. If you feel like the Patriots got away with a massive scandal, hit that like button.
But at the same time, that means the Steelers are playing the 1 or 2 in – that's the schedule they're playing. They've never bottomed out and gotten the fourth place schedule, the last place schedule, fourth place in the division, last place in the league. Like, they don't get those things. So – to sit here and say that their MVP through 4 weeks is Luck when they're forcing turnovers and winning almost in spite of themselves in the clutch, when until last week when they were basically taking a knee in the red zone on the 1 yard line to make Carson Wentz to go 99 yards, and they busted one coverage. Was Peyton Wilson running 29 miles an hour luck, or was that heart and hustle? Making your own luck is a real thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of the teams in the NFL are roughly as good as each other, and week to week, crazy things happen in this sport. But, all teams don't have a quarterback who's been a savant for 20 years at not throwing picks and closing games and, winning one-score games. And not every team, has been consistently leading the league in turnover margin because they're so damn good at creating takeaways. So I'd like a little bit more respect from our guy over there at FS1 for those two factors. Now, speaking of your MVP, though, you want to do some quarter poll awards here on the Knoll Road, New Bear. I know you do. And I don't know who the actual MVP is. I just know it's not Luck. What would you say? I mean, Hayward's been awesome. TJ Watt's been great.
Yeah, neither one of them were good early, though. Neither one of them were good early. When you're talking about, so 4 weeks, just like if we were doing this at the end of the year and you had someone who had gotten hot late, I think you have to take that into account. Right now, I think it's Aaron Rodgers. When you talk about winning in the clutch, when you talk about throwing, leading game-winning drives, throwing game-winning touchdown passes, right now it's Aaron Rodgers. Most valuable.
I mean, Jaylen Warren's been good, but he didn't play in the fourth game. Cam Hayward. I mean, Deshaun Elliott played so dang good in game 4. I want to say he's been one of the better Steelers of the season, even though he's been hurt. But I think it's been sort of a team effort, and it's hard to really, look at anybody for sure. I mean, there's been 3 and outs from Aaron Rodgers, and there's been throwing well short of the sticks, not getting Jonnu Smith involved, people talking about trading Pat Freiermuth. It's just there's a number of things I think with anybody you could go to. Cam Hayward was ass week 1.
The other name you have to mention is TJ Watt, just because the numbers weren't there early because nobody was running at him. And then when they finally said to hell with it, we're going to go make some plays, he gets it done. And you start talking about, I mean, who else does what he does, where you're not only getting home and you're not only forcing fumbles, you're making picks, right? And then you're also dictating that the entire team's run game is to one side of the field. It's not TJ's fault that they couldn't tackle anybody for 3 weeks.
Derek Harmon, rookie of the year so far, not even close. Offensive player of the year so far. I mean, if you're giving Rodgers MVP, you got to go DK Metcalf with that.
1,000%.
He's been a ballin'. I think he's what's the stat? His passer rating on his targets when targeted,
like 140.3. It's almost perfect.
What do you think about DPOY? Is that Ramsey? Hayward?
Yeah, the thing about Ramsey is the Yankee routes, the deep crossers, the busted coverages against New England and I wanted to say Seattle. That's what Brain did for your Huskies. But I think there's been some pretty big misses from Ramsey, but there's been some really big hits. Week 1, he literally ended the game. and then he had, what should have been that they got to change that rule about the guy out of bounds, don't they? Should have been the fumble return that he hurt himself on, faking the injury, he ends up actually getting hurt with that injury late. I mean, you could say Ramsey, you could say Watt. There's a few guys. I think if Cam had gone through camp and been in shape, it would probably be him. If Harmon hadn't been hurt week 1, he probably wouldn't just be D-Roy. He would be DPOY.
Wow. That's a big hit, and I think this is one that's going to pay dividends for a long time to come. Speaking of hits, check out our short series, The Curtain Call, on YouTube, 60 seconds or less, celebrating the top plays from Steelers game day. We do at least 2 following every game. We'd love it if you can jump on over there and like those, comment, and let us know what plays you'd like to see featured in an upcoming episode. We'll be back very shortly with more Steelers content as we progress through this bye at 3-1, eyeing 5-1. I think I'm eyeballing 5-1 here by the time we get to mid-October. For New Bear, I'm Dawson. Until next time, we'll see you on the Knoll Road.